Hi, this is Michael Popa, Executive Director of Mainstream Coalition, and welcome to another KS Ledge Quick Take, an insider's view under the dome with your elected officials in Topeka. Today, we'll hear from Kansas State Senator Pat Pettey, District 48. Senator Pettey, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for the invitation to be here.
Of course. So, could you please give us your quick take?
There's a lot of work being done to one, encumber funds so that even though the governor has presented to us a balanced budget, and it is the legislature's responsibility to pass that budget, we are working to encumber funds so that it will be an unbalanced budget. And I think this is all in an attempt, and not to say that some issues aren't good issues. They're using the fact that the governor did allotments last year. And I'm sure the listeners are aware that allotments are not always necessarily cuts. They're just not additions to what was already being funded. In some cases, they were cuts, but in most cases, they were additional money that was going to be given to an agency for a particular area. So a lot of the actions that are going on are addressed to undermining the governor's work and the governor's ability to work with the legislature to make good decisions and fiscally sound decisions for all the citizens of Kansas. Firmly believe that education is the lifeblood of our state. It's the foundation that lifts all boats. And without a strong public school foundation, we can't, we won't be successful as a state. And we are robbing our youth of not having opportunities in the future. We know that we've been in the courts for years, that settlement was occurred, and we agreed as a state that we needed to be adequately funding our public school system. So education is always going to be, I'm always going to be championing education, and also early childhood education. I've started 3 years ago, the Early Childhood Caucus. We've continued to keep that going. We just had a presentation this past week from a former legislator, Monica Mernan, about funding sources for early childhood education, for early education. And I think it's always important to keep in mind that 90% of our brains are developed by the age of 5, and that this is an area that we have, well, in some cases we haven't really had that knowledge. I mean, that's fairly recent knowledge that's for the public. I'd say within the last 15 years that we've become more aware of brain development and how early it occurs and how impactful life circumstances are before the age of 5. So I definitely champion anything that helps us to provide better resources for our children and their families so that we can have the academic growth for our children prior to the age of 5. And Medicaid expansion. We've had some opportunities. We know how much it can benefit our state and our community. The official estimate right now is that 165,000 Kansans would be eligible under Medicaid expansion. And of that, over 38,000 of them are children. So the evidence is abounding. 38 states have adopted Medicaid expansion. All of our neighboring states, all of our bordering states have adopted Medicaid expansion. So we have role models all around us as to how successful it is. No state that adopted Medicaid expansion has dropped out. And there is overwhelming evidence that it has benefited those states, that it has increased their workforce, that it's increased the number of people that have insurance. And now, on top of everything else, with the Biden administration, with the Rescue Act that was just passed, and that there are incentives in there for states that have not passed Medicaid expansion. And there are three really critical incentives in there. One is that it would increase the FMAP for people who are already on Medicaid, so that we would be getting more money than we're actually investing. It would cover what is our state cost for those that are already on Medicaid expansion for the next 2 years. It's estimated at $330 million. And that's just one of the incentives. But so we would, I hope that we will look at those and realize that now we're not only getting the 90% match that would continue, but we're actually getting paid more than it would cost the state to pass Medicaid expansion. So when anybody says that it costs the state, there would be no cost to the state for the next 2 years. And actually most states have seen that after a couple of years, it's been net neutral within their states. Well, I'll be pretty frank. I feel like we at the state level, when we're in session, we almost become like Big Brother. And it appears we often are making decisions because we're in session, and not necessarily because it's good government. And we undermine our school districts. For example, the bill that was passed, Senate Bill, I think it was 235, that says all school districts should be back in person by March the 26th. Okay, we do want to have them in person, but we should not be mandating it. School boards have been making those tough decisions all year long. And that's what I want people to be aware. We talk about personal freedoms, but yet we think it's okay for our state to sometimes make those decisions that should be made at the local level. And I hope everybody wants to get their vaccine. And we are now moving into a phase where we're getting more vaccines. We are able to vaccine more people, and we're able to do it more quickly, just as the president said last night. I just want to let others know that if you ever have a question, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, I'm Senator Pat Pettey. My email address is pat.pettey, Pettey, @senate.ks.gov. And I can be reached at that email anytime. Also, my phone number is 913-579-3741. And that's my personal cell number, but that's the only number I have. So except at the State House. You can call my office during the legislative session, and that number is 785-296-7375. And my assistant is Nanette, and she'll be glad to work with you to help you with any situation that you have. We've had, of course, lots of calls about unemployment, and we are glad to assist in any way we can. But we do encourage people to call your legislator that represents you to assist you, and instead of reaching out to all 165 legislators, because that just overloads the system.
Well, thank you, Senator Pettey. We really appreciate your time today and for giving us your quick take. And thanks to everyone for watching. If you'd like to get more involved in Kansas politics, please visit mainstreamcoalition.org. And please follow us on social media to make sure that you see the next quick take. Until then, thanks for your commitment to do more than vote.